If you're looking to get into AI automation or RPA, there's a tool you're going to hear about a lot. That tool is UiPath. And when you first open it, it can feel a little intimidating. There are panels, workflows, activities, a lot of moving parts. So in this video, I want to break it down in a simple way. What UiPath actually does, what the layout looks like, and how to think about using it as a beginner. Let's start with what UiPath is. At a basic level, UiPath is a tool that automates repetitive tasks on a computer. Think about the kind of work people do every day. Copying data, entering information into systems, opening files, sending emails, clicking through the same screens over and over. UiPath can do those things for you. It acts like a digital worker. It can open applications, click buttons, type into fields, read data from screens, and move information from one place to another. So instead of doing the same task over and over, you build a workflow once, and UiPath runs it for you. Now let's talk about what it looks like when you open it. The main thing you'll see is something called a workflow. You can think of a workflow like a step-by-step process. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. Each step is something UiPath will do. And those steps are built using something called activities. Activities are the building blocks. Each activity represents an action. For example, click, type, read text, send email, move file. You don't have to write a lot of code to use them. You drag and drop activities into your workflow. Then you configure them. For example, if you use a click activity, you tell it what to click. If you use a type into activity, you tell it what text to type and where. So instead of writing instructions in code, you are visually building the process. Now let's talk about the layout. When you're inside UiPath, there are a few main areas. In the center, you have the workflow canvas. This is where you build your automation. You drag activities into this space and connect them in order. On the side, you have the activities panel. This is where all the available actions are listed. You can search for things like click, type, get texts, send email, and then drag them into your workflow. You'll also see a properties panel. This is where you configure each activity. So if you click on something in your workflow, the properties panel lets you adjust how it works. For example, what text to type, which button to click, which file to use. There's also a project panel. This shows your files, workflows, and structure. So overall, the layout looks complex at first, but once you understand the pieces, it starts to make sense. Now let's talk about how you would actually use UiPath. As a beginner, you don't need to build anything complicated. Start with something simple. For example, opening a file, copying data, and pasting it somewhere else. That might sound basic, but that's exactly how you learn. You build small workflows, then you connect them. And over time, those small pieces turn into real automation systems. Now let's talk about where UiPath fits in the bigger picture. If you've been learning AI tools, you might have seen things like ChatGPT, Zapier, Make. Those are great tools. But UiPath is a little different. It's more structured, more detailed, and often used by companies. Where tools like Zapier automate things between apps, UiPath can automate what happens inside applications. That's a big difference. It can interact with systems that don't have easy integrations. It can work with desktop software. It can handle more complex workflows. That's why companies use it. Now here's the important part. You don't need to master everything right away. Focus on understanding what a workflow is, what an activity is, and how to connect steps together. That's the foundation. Once you understand that, everything else builds on top of it. You can start adding conditions, loops, data handling, error handling. But none of that matters if the basics aren't clear. So keep it simple. Think in steps. What needs to happen first? What happens next? What is the final result? That's how you build automation. Not just in UiPath, but in any tool. Now, if you're interested in AI automation as a career, learning UiPath is a smart move because it's used in real business environments. and it teaches you how to think about processes, not just tools. And that's what really matters. So if you're just getting started, don't try to learn everything at once. Open UiPath. Build something small, and focus on understanding how the pieces connect. That's how you get better. If you want to see more beginner-friendly breakdowns like this, make sure you follow the channel. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on practical AI and automation. And I'll see you in the next video.